Kelly, how are you feeling today?
Good, excited.
So you came back from Spain to Malta to celebrate the festivities.
Yes, absolutely. I actually always come home at least twice a year. But obviously Christmas is a time to be with family, so here I am.
What's the story behind you going to live in Spain?
Oof, the story behind going to live in Spain actually goes back to when I was living in Austria first.
Okay.
So basically shortly after finishing my bachelor's studies, I always knew I wanted to leave the island.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure a few people that, a few Maltese people who have left the island young will resonate with that as well. So I wanted to live the experience of being abroad. So continuing my studies was like just the perfect excuse. And I remember the moment where my mom and dad were like taking me to go and get a student loan at the time. And mom looked at me and she was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I was like, without even knowing what I was getting myself into, my first loan, absolutely, yes.
For sure, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. So in that moment, I found a master's degree in Austria. And it was a perfect master's degree for me because it was combining science and business, which was quite a hard find to dive into at the time. So I spent 2 years living in Austria. And in the first year, actually, I remember even before booking my master's studies while in Malta. So it was a master's program just outside of Vienna, in a tiny, tiny village called Krems an der Donau, which is like a really small village just on the Danube River.
Okay.
And so while Googling it while in Malta, I was like, it's just an hour from Vienna. Amazing. But then when I finally got there, I was like, oh my God, it's an hour from Vienna.
Sure.
So, eventually my mom had helped me move over and I spent a year living in this tiny village, my first experience living outside of Malta. Thinking, wow, this is great. This is like, because being a really small community, it was perfect, because it gave me a time to really settle in and not just go into a massive city coming from a tiny island. So I really appreciated that first experience. And it was the first time I really worked shoulder to shoulder with Spanish people, with Italians, with Austrians, and a real blend of different cultures. But then after the first year, I was starting to get a bit bored of this really small village. And the university offered like an internship program where in the second year you had to go out and find a job, basically. Like an apprenticeship, really, more than an internship. And so I went hunting for apprenticeships and I found an opportunity in Vienna. I was like, fantastic. Time to go out and enjoy the big city. Yeah, no more exactly traveling every weekend to go and enjoy the city. And so I remember starting my apprenticeship there. And around 3 months in, this young gentleman walks in. And I was like, "You're Spanish, right?" And that was the beginning of, I guess, my love story with my ex-partner. And a few months in, and not obviously continuing with my internship and nearing towards the end of my studies, it came the time to start looking for a job opportunity. And by that moment, again, my parents were like, "Well, now you're going to come back to Malta." And I was like, "Are you serious?"
I'm living the life,
Exactly. So I remember at the time, I think looking back, they probably thought like it was my ex-partner at the time, keeping me away from home.
Yes.
But no, it was just my hunger to continue exploring the world, right?
Was it the sense of belonging that you felt?
In Austria?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh my God. Actually, it was far from the sense of belonging.
Okay, so what kept you there?
So that's a really interesting question because I think it was just the knowing at that time that my time of exploring wasn't over yet. It was actually like, I've just seen the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole oyster of the world left for me to explore. And to an extent, now having even a foreign boyfriend, I was like, oh my God, now this is even better because now I can explore it like with someone else.
For sure.
Yeah, so that was to an extent even like the perfect excuse to then move on. But Austria definitely wasn't the place for me. Actually, I remember one particular story, which was like a turning point. So you really tell me like, okay, Austria is not your country, darling. So I was one Friday night, we're out with some colleagues from university. I was obviously with the Spanish gang because I already kind of resonated with this culture very much. And just, dancing away and everybody was having a good time. And as you notice, I have quite a loud laugh. And suddenly, the barman just called at me and was like, Bitte, calm down, you're talking too loud. And I was like, oh, he's so funny. Like, he was like, no, I'm serious. You laugh again so loud and you will get out of my bar. And I was shocked. I felt humiliated in that moment.
Oh, sure.
I felt like I just can't be myself. And clearly there was in that moment, I think, a turning point that I felt, okay, there's a bit of a clash here maybe in terms of cultures, right? I'm a very loud, expressive Mediterranean girl.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not always appreciated. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's not to say that the Viennese culture is anything wrong with it, but it's just that, it's very different to what Mediterranean culture is, right? And so I remember that being a really important turning point in my decision as to where I wanted to end up. And so eventually, while I was hunting for new job opportunities, actually I was quite lucky in finding an opportunity immediately in Barcelona. So I basically came to my boyfriend at the time saying like, well, I've already found the job, so I kind of have to go home with you now.
You're stuck with me whether you like it or not.
So I found the job, and then shortly after, and then he did as well. So I basically followed him to Barcelona, although I kind of found a job first. So that made his life obviously easier, and I ended up spending 10 years in Barcelona before you know it. So I moved to Barcelona for love, I guess, and I stayed there for my career, which is where I am now currently as well.
How interesting! What I'm hearing as well is the element of adventure.
Oh yes.
So there is that element which is very very strong. That you, to be honest, you're the first person that I've encountered who stayed there or who stayed in a place because for adventure's sake. Sometimes that feeling of I'm here to explore, I'm here to learn, I'm here to fail, because with adventure comes a sense of failing and succeeding. I don't always get it right. Absolutely. With adventure. So being ready to let go and live a little, as they say.
Absolutely.
It's I think it's an undervalued value.
I was actually just going to say, it reminds me of the value of zest.
Okay, I've heard about it.
Which is, I think, a value I really identify with. I try to... I mean, it's obviously something which I've come into awareness more recently while working with my coach. Basically, he's put me through a values strength test, which assesses which are your top values and how can you be a stronger expression of these values.
Okay.
And definitely zest is in my top 5. And it's like a zest for life, a feeling that you are living your life to its fullest. And I kind of look back, and it's not to say like, I mean, there are people who really believe in these things, but it's, I don't know, an anecdote, I would say.
Okay.
But, in our uchilla.
Yes.
Well, I picked up the egg.
Okay.
In my family, eggs are a thing.
I'm not sure what it means though.
Well, we say it, I mean, in Maltese, like a life mimli da zbajda, no?
Okay.
At least that's what I was told.
Not too sure. I picked up this
We'll have to
spoon.
look it up. But
Okay.
yeah, like trying as much as possible to really embrace every experience of life is definitely how I try to go about living life. Trying to be like, okay, there's so much you can do to really influence a specific situation yourself, but rather than look at it, this is something, like, why is this happening to me? More in the sense, okay, why this is happening to me, but definitely I can lean from it and I can embrace it really as an opportunity, as something that I can learn from, I can take from, and yeah, hopefully share with others eventually. So
you got me
zest for
curious
life.
because I do coaching as well, not life coaching per se. You mentioned that the zest for life is the top 5, one of the top 5. What are the rest?
Oh wow, okay. So my number one value is love.
Okay.
Which I'll start with. So, and I think that the really beautiful thing about this value test is not so much that, because obviously the survey gives you some kind of response about what the value of zest means or what the value of love means. But where I found most value really is when you bring that meaning for yourself. So for instance, okay, how can I be an expression of love? That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going out loving everyone, but it starts with me loving myself more, right? Or as an example, me being an expression of love could mean simply that I take care of myself more, I go to the gym, or I do whatever I love doing, right? So yeah, that's my number one value, and I think it's also serves as a way to center me many times, like coming into something really important is something I actually ask myself, how can I in this moment be an expression of love? Because I know, but by doing that, I just show up as my most authentic self. That's my number one. My number two is creativity. So I love creative expression, and so I love cooking. I mean, who loves to cook loves to eat, right?
For sure.
So yeah, obviously trying out different recipes is something where my creativity comes out. Appreciation of beauty and excellence is also one of them.
Is another value.
It's another value.
Okay, appreciation of beauty and
excellence.
Okay.
So again, through self-reflective work on, okay, what does this actually mean to me, and why did this survey give me this result that this is actually a value of mine? But then I sat with myself and realized, actually, I really, really am obsessed with good music and really finding great concerts where I can have an amazing seat to be able to really watch the artist play.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, that's appreciation of excellence. So how it ends up influencing how I lead my life is that I seek out experiences and I make decisions based on whether those specific activities, experiences, you name it, get me closer to being an expression of those values.
Okay.
And that's where I find it strengthens my integrity in myself, right? Because if you do that repeatedly, what ends up happening is that ultimately what's also nice about it is that you realize that you can find creative expression or you can find appreciation of beauty not doing one specific thing, and therefore you're not focusing your happiness on one specific outcome, like, oh, I must do a certain thing to be happy. It's like, no, actually there are many different values which define me, who I am, and what I stand for and what I enjoy doing, that can lead me to happiness, right? There's an example which my coach leans on quite a lot because he's in the sports industry, and he's like, do you think Wimbledon tennis players only play sports so that they always win the game. And it's like, no, because, I mean, obviously the ideal outcome is so that you always win, right? But to be truly happy, you kind of need to find what that activity brings also to you by doing it as well, right? So, and that's how the zest, I think, brings us all together, because I try to find like, okay, well, if I can't find my creative expression through cooking, let's go watch an art exhibition. You know, try to find different experiences which still enable you to be an expression of those values.
Mm-hmm.
I find has really helped me not focus my happiness on a specific outcome. And I guess to an extent that's also been something I've thought a lot about in terms of relationship expectations or work expectations or any kind of expectations, really, right? Because we can tend to focus a lot on an outcome per se.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, while working with a coach, I've realized, like, if you focus on the values and you focus aligning more specifically with being an expression of those values, you're pretty much set up for long-term happiness and success. So that's been my past couple of years, at least.
So it takes time. So
it takes time.
I appreciate that you are expressing about how you understand yourself, because there are various tools of how you can understand yourself and to see yourself from different perspectives. And I think the key message here is that to have the audacity, to have the adventurous spirit, to see yourself from different perspectives through different tools, different people. And there's always a key takeaway. But what I took personally from what you shared, Kelly, is that when we discuss about values, we start seeing what we need from ourselves and what we need from others. Because sometimes we might be in a situation in life, we might be facing a problem that we're facing that problem for the first time, or we might have faced that problem several times before, but right now it's hitting us differently. Maybe because we're in a different state of life, or maybe because, I don't know, the variables are slightly different. And we might need something different, and values are, to me, are linked to what we actually need. Do we need to express it? Do we need to have someone else giving us a direction? Do we need to paint it out? Do we need to go for a walk? Do we need to write it down? What do we actually need for us to make sense of what's happening to us? Like a process of understanding ourselves.
The journey of life, right?
It is, and I think we underestimate how complex we are sometimes. It is a bit of a rabbit hole, because once you get into it, the self-reflection, and it is a bit of a rabbit hole. Sometimes you're seeking the answer that you will never find at the same time. So it is a bit daunting. But I think it's the journey that counts in that.
Absolutely. And I know it sounds really cliche, like enjoy the journey kind of thing. But I think as I'm getting older, this is starting to really hit home for me. And as you were as you were talking about, how you can go down a rabbit hole. I've been there. But what I found comfort is first of all the people you surround yourself with. I think that's such an important exercise to really just reflect on, okay, are the people around me really enabling me to not go down that rabbit hole even further and then, feel miserable about myself completely? Or are they really people that, want to see me show up as my best self? So I've learned to really pay attention to how my body speaks first.
Okay.
How I notice, my heart sits differently when I'm around people that lift me up or people that don't. But also, one thing I've tried to pay attention to as well is a thing which I'll summarize as following your bliss.
Okay.
Which comes from a video I watched earlier in the year about the hero's journey.
Yeah.
And basically it talks about how you can be going through life not really knowing whether the steps you're taking and the path you're, forging is one that is right for you. But if you follow your heart, and as long as you're following your heart while also going along with your values, then you should be on the right path. Right? And I remember in the video they kind of talk about, following your bliss doesn't mean like eating chocolate every day, although you can do that. Following your bliss, I kind of liken it to, if I had to have a child I have to take care of. There are days where you have to educate the child and just be like, listen, today you can't eat chocolate. You need to go on a diet.
I will take it for
I'll bear the burden. Right? And there are days when, yes, it's just for enjoyment. And I feel taking care of yourself to an extent can be likened to that as well. Kind of following what that inner child really wants without the baggage that comes afterwards.
The way you're sharing it, Kelly, it's making me reflect in a different way. And this is one of the things that I love during these podcasts, was I get to see myself thinking and behaving in a different way according to the guests that I have. And this following your heart thing, it is something that came up, or it's something that I thought before. But the way you're sharing it, it's sitting with me in a different way. And I'm asking this question to myself that I wanted to say it out loud so that we can discuss a bit about it. Is following our hearts easy?
No,
I don't think so.
It's really not. I actually think what happens initially when you want to try and follow your heart is fear. And that's what makes it hard, because it's almost as if the fear takes over to prove to you that what you're trying to do is a mistake. And again, one thing my coach says to me a lot is that fear is so smart, because it will tell you everything you want to hear to keep you safe, to keep you in the way you are, right? But really, what following your heart really entails is taking a leap of faith. A leap of faith into something which is unknown, and therefore that takes courage, right, to step into. But the reason I think it's also quite difficult is the fact that it's almost as if you're in some kind of dream state, an imaginary state where you're envisioning yourself in the future, envisioning who you can potentially become, but then you have all these limiting beliefs which start to pop up and kind of reinforce. And they're usually quite strong, because you've most likely lived those experiences of maybe being criticized. You've lived those experiences of feeling that you're not good enough, or you're not where you should be in life. That really hinders you from making that step. But I feel oftentimes it's just a question of taking that first baby step towards slowly building that courage that, oh wow, actually I can get there somehow.
No, I completely agree, and I think it goes to show that the first building block is focusing on yourself first.
Absolutely.
Because that's the first level. But if you conquer yourself, then if you have people around you who will discourage you from doing anything, if you conquered yourself, if you know for a fact that you can do it, you have the confidence, you think that you're able to do the thing that you want to do, that becomes easier. It's nice to have the support from the people around us, family, friends, loved ones, but it starts from us. I think sometimes most of us tend to first seek the approval and validation from outside, and then pour it into us, which in reality it's the other way around. First we need to find our own voice in that, found our own courage, and then shout it to the world.
Absolutely.
But it's so counterintuitive that most of us do not do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're reminding me of a song. By the way, I also do a lot of my almost like self-reflection, but also like I somehow get very introspective through music because I love music.
Okay.
And the song which comes to mind right now is Whitney Houston's song "Greatest Love of All."
Okay.
And it's a song exactly about that. And she talks about, how the greatest love of all is actually myself, my own self-love.
Yeah.
And I find we're raised in society, just the way, we are raised, our educational system and so on, very much to follow a specific pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's quite normal that when we eventually come to a realization point that, well, actually what I'm doing every day is not really serving me. It's serving some other purpose which no longer resonates with me. And when you finally break from that shell, it sets you free, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, it's something which happened, I would say, this year, which I guess, was very much like following my heart, but not really knowing what the path was. So I was looking for... I mean, even though I've been living in Barcelona now for the last 10 years, I've felt like I've wanted to leave the city for a long time. That was like what my heart was telling me for the last couple of years, really. But initially, I was like, all my friends were like, "No, are you leaving? Come on, you love this city. I see you go out all the time and you really enjoy it." And it's true. But somehow, when you're just reflecting and I found myself daydreaming about a life outside of Barcelona, like very often. I was like, okay, there is something here I need to do about that, right? But the exercise of moving place, again, because I've already moved a couple of times, settling yourself into a new place once again, making sure you find a home once again, and the entire process just constantly set me back until eventually I was just like, okay, but what's one tiny step I can take towards following that dream, right? And it's something, I mean, listeners might be like, yeah, it's just moving your house, Kelly, like, come on. But, really and truly, when you're, I think, in any kind of situation where you're quite comfortable, it can be really difficult to just
100%.
get out of that discomfort, and kind of still follow what your heart really wants, right? So the first small baby step I could take to at least test the waters a bit was to just take out an Airbnb. Well, an Airbnb is what, maybe, like, I would anyway spend that amount of money on a holiday instead of spending it wherever, just use it to...
You pilot test it.
Exactly.
So.
And that was the best decision ever, because I went on an Airbnb and I was like, oh my God. I was already imagining myself living, I really got more embraced into the story. So, okay, I did my one week, even just one week Airbnb experience, and I came back from that just like, oh my God, it was so cool. But it really gave me the opportunity to really pinpoint exactly the neighborhood I was seeking. So, well, long story short, now I finally signed my contract to a new place. But it took me a whole couple of years, like, to really find which town in Barcelona, which neighborhood. Is this really the right choice? How would it really impact my work, my life? Will I be happy? And it's like, well, what's actually holding you back? And the only thing which was holding me back was my routine, the comfort of my routine, right? And I decided to just step into it. And I must say, initially, I was a little bit anxious, but well, I will tell you how I am in 6 months. But yeah, I'm quite excited by this new opportunity. But yeah, it's just a question, I think, of taking one small step.
Yeah, it's the low-hanging fruit sometimes. I mean, there's no shame into starting off your process with a low-hanging fruit until you get into it.
No, definitely. It's actually reminding me of, I watched a podcast recently about this, he's an artist, musician, comedian, you name it, Matt O'Kine. And he spoke about, one of the questions actually they asked was, how are you not afraid of failure? And he said something which really hit home, which was when you're not trying something, you're already failing. I was like, yeah, that's so true.
I needed to
process it. Yeah.
Yes.
Just like, okay, in that moment you have two decisions to make, right? That you either take the leap and then you might fail in that moment, because I guess that's what the fear is telling us, right? Or you just take the leap and you would have tried. But actually the exercise of not trying, which is usually what is hindering us, is actually even bigger a failure than not trying at all. Because if you think about it, when you actually try something and then it's a failure, you have the learning.
Yeah.
Because I could have gone to this Airbnb experience, and well, I learned so much about the neighborhood, the kind of area I was seeking, the kind of life I see myself living, even if that wasn't eventually the right area I wanted to live in. I came back with so much more knowledge. And I think that's what often I feel is really hard to visualize in the midst of our brain telling us, oh, but are you going to waste so much money? Are you really going to do this? And what will people think? And it's give yourself a break.
One of the toughest lessons I've learned in life is it's more painful to live with regret than with disappointment.
That's so true.
So the disappointment of trying and failing, you will process it. You will get better. It's a lesson learned. But regret lingers. Regret stays there, because regret is, I should have done something, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And that lingers. You can't go back in time and redo it. But if you did it and you failed, you can always try better next time round. If it's an audition that you're trying to make, if it's a job position that you're applying for, you can always do better next time round. But not applying, not going, not signing up, not meeting with a friend or whatever, that's something that you can't go back in time and do. So I think it's more painful to live with regret than with disappointment. I don't think we ask these tough questions enough in our lives.
Absolutely. Although I must say it is something more and more I'm trying to ask myself every day, rather than wait until like a New Year's resolution or a birthday, okay, this is the year I'm turning so and so. Really ask myself every single day, did I live a life aligned with who I want to be, with the person I am trying to become, and what went well and why, because I think sometimes can be a bit disheartening to project yourself so far in the future.
Yeah.
Whereas if I just focus on today, give me a bit more peace. I'm an overthinker, so I need to find methods to kind of keep myself grounded.
Okay.
But I do completely agree with you that the fear of, the emotion of regret, I think is just so much harder to bear. And also kind of gives the perspective as well that you've not really embraced life. There's, again, a very famous quote which comes to mind, which is like, there is something just as inevitable as death, and that is life. So go out and live it. Yeah, it's like you've got so much life out there to live, and you just here wasting it away. You're like, really? So again, the zest for life. It's a quote from a movie with Charlie Chaplin, and he's like, the same life that goes through trees and goes through nature is inside of you, and we're just embrace the experience of that, which is the human experience. So I'm a very my closest friends say to me, like, you're so like fond of the human experience, the shared human experience. Yes. And yes, I think resonate with that as a purpose, like the purpose of living life to its full and trying to be present in the moment and enjoy as much as I can. I sometimes sound like a hedonist though. It's like borderline hedonist, borderline. But again, following your bliss doesn't only mean enjoying, the pleasurable moments. But I mean, there have been moments, of course, where I've had to make hard decisions where, that teaches you as well that it's how you go about as well protecting yourself and really not just what your current self is going through, but again, what is the future more expanded me wanting, and is the situation I'm in really aligning with that? I think sometimes as you go through that, it almost feels like the goalposts are changing.
Yeah.
Because you're also changing. So then you have people tell you, but Kelly, this isn't who you were. Like, you've changed. And it's like, thank God.
Yes. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best comment that people can say to you when you're actually trying to improve your life.
Yeah.
But as our conversation is really making me reflect.
Fantastic. Okay.
That's why I've been a bit silent. So we're shooting the second episode for the listener's sake. We're shooting the episode at the end of the year 2025.
Okay.
So and usually during this time, we all of us take a moment to pause and see what we've done this year, what we accomplished, where we are in life or want to be in the following year. So most of us might be in that process.
Okay.
And one of the lessons that I've learned this year is that we're all work in progress.
Oh,
the more people that I've encountered during the podcast and elsewhere, I realize that I'm not the only one fighting this battle. I've met people much older than me that are in the same exact situation, but on a different plane perhaps, but still trying to figure themselves out, still learning, because as you said, Kelly, we're all the time changing, and that's why the goalposts changed, because we're all the time changing and all the time learning. It's like a vicious cycle of sorts, but that's how it should be. Maybe a caveat to that would be it's okay to rest a bit and to process. And one of the things that I'm processing at the moment is I'm going back into the conversation, and earlier you mentioned limiting beliefs. One of my limiting beliefs, still I think, I'm still in the work in progress on it, is that I want to feel valued. So I want to provide value, but I want to feel valued as well. But the limiting belief, I guess, is that is my value worth valuing, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So and recently I was sharing a little bit about this. Recently I've been in a campaign, and one of the chains that I had to cut loose is. Because once the limiting beliefs, at least the way I picture them, is like chains holding me down.
That's how I picture them too. Cut the chain, girl. Cut the chain.
One of the chains that I had to cut loose is that I'm worth following. So I've had this comment several times, professionally and personally, that I'm a person who can lead. And I just didn't see myself, because the way I saw myself in my life is that I am chasing approval to some extent in some areas. So if I'm chasing approval, I can't lead. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So one of the change I had to cut loose is that, hey, I'm worth following, because I do stand for something. And the people who stand for something are worth following, because they are standing for a purpose, for a value that we were discussing before. So if you resonate with that value that person is standing for, then that person is worth following. And now that person happens to be me. So I had to really come into terms with that. Okay. So one of the chains that I had to cut loose very recently, so I'm still processing, is that I'm worth following.
So interesting. As you were going through this, it reminded me a bit of my own imposter syndrome, if I may. Yeah. So when I joined into the role I am in currently, I was the youngest person on the team. Well, I still am the youngest person on the team. So I joined a very, very experienced team. So I think 20, 30 plus years of sales experience.
Wow.
And me coming in, the little Maltese girl. Like, who is this girl? What does she think? Exactly. Like, where is your country? Like, I can't find it on the map.
Do you even exist?
What language do you speak? Like, oh my God, what's this accent? Anyway, okay, enough with that. So obviously, I mean, coupled with some random comments about like, oh my God, but you're my daughter's age, or, you know, I was quickly in that same mindset that you described, that is my value worth, you know, am I deserving of a seat at this table here? And I noticed, so when it really came to my attention that I had a problem, was basically we were coming into meetings, and whenever I was called in for feedback, I just froze. I was like, what am I going to say after someone who has like 20 plus years of experience about sales? And I'm just here going in saying, well, I think we should do. It's like, shut up. So, but again, with the help of a coach, we went through a very, very powerful exercise, which basically gave me the opportunity to really visualize how in my mind I was really visualizing these people. And the exercise really enabled me to see that every time I was making their experience bigger, I was shrinking myself. So I was lifting them up on a pedestal and I was shrinking myself down, raising their worth and lowering my own. So wow, when I had that image in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I have to change this. I mean, it's one thing appreciating excellence. It's a value of mine. But it's another thing bringing myself down in the process. Like, come on, don't do that. So the exercise, so the next step and the next exercise after doing that was, so again, for all of the traits you believe somebody in your position should have, respond those traits with what you actually have. So as an example, no? I believed, obviously, that having so many years of experience was an extremely valuable contribution. So I had to do the exercise of twisting that into, okay, this is something I don't have, but what does that experience limit that person to an extent that I, so to say, can counter with my own truth. And again, reflecting long, I was like, okay, but well, they have experience. It's a good thing. And it's like, eventually, I realized that, well, but creativity is also a value of mine. And actually, I wouldn't be as creative if I had so much experience, because I probably would be quite biased. So I started to kind of join the dots to realize that, oh, wow, actually, having so much experience, okay, it can be a good thing, but it can also limit you. Flip the coin and see what the positive trait was. And I did that for every single trait I believed I lacked. And it became something that I had. So I do have creativity. I do have amazing ideas to actually run different things, right? And what was really cool about that was that I stopped trying to be someone that had 20 years of sales experience, because I'd have to wait 20 years to be that person, right? And that shifted my leadership style like 180, because I went from leading from a place of weakness, of feeling that I'm lacking something here to really be here, to be able to contribute towards. I'm not trying to be someone that has so much experience, because it's going to take me much longer, but what I do stand for are all these other things, which actually I have. And I noticed how it really shifted as well, how I led my team calls. Because again, I was joined onto basically I inherited a team which was very experienced. I mean, there were people close to retiring.
Okay, wow. Okay.
And again, I was the youngest person leading that same team. And looking back, it was when I let go of this desire to be a more experienced person, or everything I basically wasn't, to just show up as me, who I am, how I was able to really get there with my own experience, which was still valid. And that also created much more vulnerability in the team. And today I can really say we have a team that is very vulnerable, that really, is the first to say, I've made a mistake, but here's how you can learn from it, right? So yeah, that is kind of my experience of what you've gone through on a different spin.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely related to the desire of wanting to be appreciated, right? It's such a human need.
I have so much to say on what you've shared. Okay, where I start? I guess I'll go for the first part. Is that in most cases we focus more on what we lack,
correct,
rather than what we have, and from what I've heard and my experience as well, we shouldn't disregard what we lack, or in inverted commas, what our weaknesses are. Those are there. Some weaknesses can be improved. Some weaknesses are there to stay sometimes.
Exactly.
Or we'd be better off at leaving them where they're at bay. And sometimes we try to be everything and anything, and we can't do that, especially if we're working in a team. Mm-hmm. So if we're working in a team, we're one ingredient in the mix. So let's say, since we're mentioning food, let's say we're cooking a dish of lasagna.
My favorite! My favorite!
On point.
Like, Christmas isn't the same without lasagna.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Well, actually, I don't think this year we'll have it, but anyway. We might have to give it a miss. We are one ingredient in the lasagna dish, especially if we're working in a team. So if we imagine the team members...
I'm the sauce.
You can be whoever.
White sauce.
Or the cheese, maybe.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure if I picked the right or the wrong analogy.
Okay.
Breathe in. I use this analogy quite frequently, but anyway. When we are working in a team, and if we imagine ourselves and the team members as ingredients, let's say, we are one ingredient. If you're the sauce, you bring that particular stance. Mm-hmm. If the others are the pasta itself, they are the condiments or whatever, everyone makes up the dish. It's not us who overpower others, because if we overpower, if the sauce is too overpowering, we miss the other ingredients. Yeah. So then it becomes too rich. That's the way I see it. Sometimes, now working in a team, and the team dynamic spectrum is a whole other concept, because sometimes our full power might be too much.
You need to balance that.
You need to balance it out.
Dial it down.
So sometimes you need to pace.
I actually think weaknesses, to an extent, are your strengths dialed up too much.
They can cloud your judgment. They can interfere. So earlier you mentioned overthinking. I think we both are very analytical. Being analytical does paralyze you sometimes, does make you overthink sometimes, and it might take you longer to process, might take you longer to make a decision. So yes, it might fix the problem of impulsivity, but then it might delay a decision, or it might take us longer to make a decision, because we need to factor in everything. So it's a good trait, but it also can be a weakness. It's very much like drinking water. Drinking 2 liters to 4 liters of water every day is good, but drinking 10 liters of water every day, your kidneys might not be very happy with that. So something good can interfere, can hinder us. It can become a weakness of sorts if we overuse
absolutely. it. I like to manage, actually, from a strength point of view. You hear so many times like, I'm not good at maths, or I'm not good at whatever. And it's like, I also think that that's actually what your limiting belief is, darling. So to an extent, the way you talk to yourself ends up becoming as well your weakness sometimes. So the first step towards it stop being a weakness, I think, is to actually change the narrative. I think that's what I learned from my experience of, going from telling myself constantly I lacked the experience towards empowering myself and telling myself, well, Kelly, but you're extremely creative. You have amazing ideas. You show up with authenticity. And just being your own cheerleader to make sure you're not showing up from that weak point, but you're showing up from strength. But I do like to emphasize with my teams as well that let's not focus on what you aren't good at, because if we're focusing on development, a little bit of effort is gonna make you shine on a strength, not on a weakness. It's like saying, okay, if you aren't good at maths, as that's your point, and you try and put in half an hour every day on something which you're amazing at, you're gonna be blowing.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd rather invest my energy on things I know I'm good at, if you're speaking obviously in a professional environment, rather than something that almost is just, because you end up burning yourself, I think, as well, right? But I also pay attention to how I talk to myself to kind of get those weaknesses out a little bit.
And what you're reminding me of, Kelly, is that, so let's pick a title, the CEO title, because it's glorified. It's a position that maybe most of us aspire to become one day. The CEO doesn't know everything.
No, yeah. Absolutely.
And they shouldn't know everything because they have their job and their role to fulfill. So if they know finance and they get too much into the financial aspect, the CFO can't work.
Exactly.
So even if you're perceivingly at the top, let's say, you still shouldn't know everything, or you can't know everything, but that's where the team comes in.
Absolutely.
So I completely with you on that we should capitalize on what we're actually good at, because if we're good at one thing, or a couple of things, let's say, maybe we're not specialists, maybe we're more of all-rounders, but there are areas that we can't develop, that we're not really good at. So I think it would be more worth our while to focus on what comes natural for us.
Absolutely. Because I also feel that which comes natural to you is often enabling you to live a more purposeful life.
Yep.
Again, following your bliss towards, okay, but where do I really come alive? And trying to seek opportunities and experiences which enable you to really express that, because I mean, as you were explaining this thing about the CEO, what also came to mind really as well, if being a leader is really what you aspire to be, I think having a team with different competencies as well gives you an opportunity to actually practice the value of trust. Because by having different talents in your team that can do different things, you have an opportunity to express trust and really, enable them to also shine, and not just yourself all the time.
Yes.
So it's a very humbling experience, I think, to practice trust and therefore go through the experience in that way. So
Kelly, I'm going to ask a question that I think it will help us make a bit of a full circle into the conversation. We start off this conversation with you basically seeking adventure outside the small island of Malta. What adventure are you currently seeking in your life?
Yeah, so actually the experience of exploring a completely new town is going to be my adventure of 2026. Well, they say it's the year of the horse, so bring it on, whatever that means. But I do see it as an adventure because it's I've lived in the same city for the last 10 years. So literally January 1st, I move into a new town, a new city.
Bang on the new year.
And the new year, exactly. So I'm really excited for this because it's going to bring me, it's going to force me to make new friends, to push myself into new experiences, moving out from the city life again, back to the village. So let's see how I find myself 10 years later, hopefully. So yeah, that's the adventure, because I guess I'm really curious to see, I've obviously evolved in the last 10 years, right?
Yes.
Well, I hope. I'm really curious to see if, coming back to a smaller town environment is going to cause the same reaction as it did 10 years ago.
Okay.
When I first moved to that small village in Vienna to see, I wonder if it was just a question of me being too young and hungry at the time, or if I really, prefer living in cities. So that's the adventure I'm curious about.
I would suspect that your perspective might have changed because
Yeah.
I'm assuming based on my experience and my understanding, nowadays I'm seeking something different.
I think as we get older, we all
Yes.
seek slower life,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Nature. And, yeah.
So I think it might be home, the home that you seek. So you might go working in the city and in the buzz of life, but that might be the place that you return to find yourself.
Cocoon.
So that might be it. In fact, something completely different but still resonated with me is that next year I will be focusing on consolidating what I do. My friends know me that I do a lot of things. So the most frequently asked question that I get is that how do I manage my time? And
how do you manage your time?
I'll answer. And I think that I've spread myself too thin over the past few years because that's what I was looking for. But nowadays
to
I'm
spread
really,
yourself thin.
yes, to
like
learn.
Butter.
Well, I do enjoy the butter anyway. And I think I did, but I was looking for an experience where I can, like an octopus,
stretch
right?
yourself.
Yes, I can. The way I can, in my head, I could learn so many things at the same time is by being involved and doing a lot of various things at one go.
Okay.
And
But you kind of I'll wait for you to finish.
Okay.
Sorry, something really just triggered in my head.
Okay. And now, after 10 years of doing that, I'm finding myself that, okay, I don't necessarily want to slow down just yet, but I want to consolidate. I want to group things and have 3 to 4 things, or 4 areas where I can make the greatest impact. Because I was...
Priorities.
Yes. I was picking experience from here and there, which is fine. It was enriching my portfolio, myself, my persona, but now I'm finding myself I want to create a bit of a bigger impact in the areas that I'm focusing on. Before I answer the question of time management.
Yeah, no, it's because, I noticed when I first embarked on my journey of deeper self-reflection, to put it that way, I noticed I was also on this almost journey of constantly doing things, doing a lot of things in order to get a specific outcome, or showing up a lot and exposing myself a lot, again, doing a lot, right? Whereas it's true that obviously you need to take action, and I think someone like you that is, really able to just go out and do it, doing becomes easy, right?
Okay.
But at the same time, what I found for myself, when you really find peace, is when you focus more on the being part and less on doing.
Mm-hmm.
So being, again, it goes back to the values for me. So being more present, being more centered, being more grounded in just right now, rather than, obviously that the future is important, but going back to your comment earlier about rest, it's why do we need to be constantly chasing whatever a specific? Can we just, focus on the happiness of just the expression of what it means to learn something without necessarily doing anything to achieve anything, and I think we have become a little bit a society of wanting to tick boxes and do a lot of things. But I think we also lose ourselves a little bit when we focus too much on that specific outcome and focus. Yeah, so I try to, as much as possible, to focus a bit more on the value I'm extracting out of the experience and less on the specific activity I'm doing. It's a bit hard to really express, but
no. I think we're saying the same thing, but from our own perspective.
Okay.
At least that's what I'm understanding. Because when I mentioned that I try to do a lot of things, it doesn't mean I jeopardize quality over quantity. I'm a very qualitative person, so for me it was always to strike the balance between doing something to the best of my capability and living life to the full,
yeah.
but at the same time doing a lot of things I wanted to learn and to be exposed to different scenarios, because as I said, I learn by doing. I'm a very experiential learner.
Okay.
So I need to be I needed to build this set in order to film. It's something I felt I had to do. But now, going back to your final comment, is that now I'm prioritizing more being present, because I agree that is something that you lose. So presence and rest, it's something that you have to be very careful with, because you can lose that ability to be present. And that's what I noticed about myself. I was losing the ability to be present in moments, and I'd rather be present than to accomplish.
Absolutely. At the same time, I do feel though that being very much like in the doer state, that's how you also build courage, I think, and grit.
That's why I do what I
like,
do, because it's something that I've built over time. It's not something that I can. Some people, when I share this, is that 10 years ago I was quite shy. I wouldn't be doing this. So I wouldn't go out.
I've always
there.
been loud. I have had shy days.
I
but
can't
I've
believe
always
you.
Been loud.
No, that wasn't. I was always the funny guy in class, but in a very silent way. So
yeah, well, I'm glad you're shining through now. So.
I think it's a capacity that you build.
Absolutely.
It's trying to, this part of the developmental area, right? It's something that you can expose yourself if you want to. If you want to see yourself about, it's something that you need to expose yourself to difficult situation. Off camera, we mentioned throwing ourselves into the deep end. Sometimes you have to do it, because that's where you learn a lot about yourself. What you're really good at, what you're really not good at, what you can improve, what you cannot possibly. I think it's doing tough stuff is what it's exciting. It can be painful, but that's where growth happens ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, to answer your question.
Tell us.
I have it. So, in all honesty, I don't have a straight answer to it.
Okay.
It's a mix of the following ingredients, since we
are on the topic of cooking.
Yes.
What's the recipe now?
I'm not sure. It's a hodgepodge of things. Hopefully, we'll make something tasty out of it. Anyway, I think it's a mix of discipline and making sure that you are building a structure that helps you be disciplined in what you do. So for me, that's it. Because there are a lot of reels coming up on this between discipline and motivation. Motivation is good, but you don't always feel motivated to do things. But discipline will get you there, because it's something that 30 minutes every day. So I think discipline and doing what you really believe in. For me, it's trying to find the fastest way I can do something whilst maintaining the same quality.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, when I started off editing these episodes, it used to take 25 hours of work.
Wow.
So far, I've managed to shorten that by quite a bit. Now it takes per episode 5 hours.
It's like a Lean Six Sigma course of some sort.
Yes, very, very, very much like that. in full time I work in a manufacturing company, so that
Okay.
fits. I am very technical in the way I think, let's say. So I think I do find enjoyment in trying to find the shortest route possible towards achieving something which usually takes time. So finding, I think it's the nuances of life as well. It's how I can. This usually takes me 30 minutes to set up. Can I do it fast? Can I do it in 25 minutes?
Wow.
If I need to do it in 25, what do I need to do? So leaving things, everything has a place. So again, this goes back to building the structure where you don't lose that extra time. Finding your keys, for example. Where did I put my mobile phone? Those are the things. Or the EDC, the everyday carry, right?
Yeah, it's almost as
finding,
if you've kind of identify a system that leads to least energy.
Yes.
But it's what's really impressive is how you do that so consistently. So what drives that? Now the podcast is turning around.
Usually, so we'll cover. Usually
I ask the questions.
No. Usually, when I'm not asked questions, I ask Kelly, what would you like to ask me? I didn't have to do it with you. What drives that? That's a very interesting question, and the answer to that is that if I'm able to do things faster whilst maintaining the exact quality, I can do other things.
So what do you fill your time with then?
Sorry?
What else do you fill your time with?
Oh. All right. So I have quite an extensive range of hobbies.
Okay.
So apart from scouting, camping, and the adventure side of things, and the podcast and the work, so I do enjoy woodworking, metalworking.
Oh, wow. I can see the woodwork.
Lately, I'm into 3D printing as well. So I
Okay.
do, and every area requires a lot of hours, a lot of contact hours to learn, and to hone the skill. And something that I've had to let go of was my artistic side. When I was younger, I did enjoy drawing and exploring my creativity through painting and drawing. And that's something that I haven't done in years now. And I do miss that cathartic, in a way, experience of creating something. I am creating things, but at the same time, it's not through an artistic avenue, let's say. So if I'm able to shorten my working time, I can achieve that. So that would be my drive.
Fantastic.
And there's the thrilling experience of making something work efficiently. In a way.
Wow, it's interesting how it fuels your purpose somehow and energy in that way. Yeah, I feel I'm very much more. I get energy really from people, and what I give back to people.
And my work revolves around people. So if I'm able to, you mentioned the word energy, which I think it was the correct word. If I'm able to make my life, in terms of structure, easier, I can be there for the people that are closest to me, for the people who are my clients, who I meet with regularly. I can have more energy to be with them, to think. Because if I'm thinking about, okay, what do I need to do? I need to go to the petrol station, fill up my fuel tank, I need to do that. If I'm creating a lot of noise, then I can't be present, I can't give the best advice that I can. But if I scrap that and organize that noise into something efficient, I can be more with people, because I do work with people. My clients are people, and I'm in companies. What I do is to help people work better together.
People,
So,
as you were explaining this thing about the routine, and how you're always looking to shrink your routine, it's kind of reminded me a little bit as well of how sometimes perfecting your routine so much can lead you, well, in my case, it has led me to almost being a slave to it, being a slave to my routine. Like I really need to. And that's actually what initially limited me as well to kind of make this step towards making, changing house and moving into a new city again, because I had perfected my routine so much. I was like, oh my God, so much anxiety comes thinking about doing all that again. But at the same time, knowing that you've been able to go through that experience and, you are capable of basically building that, that means you can do it all over again from scratch all over again somewhere else, right? But I've experienced how sometimes being in that routine can almost make it so comfortable for from like mentally, that it becomes so difficult to extract out of that situation again and kind of start again.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's just me or
I think the reward is different, because for me the reward is so it's like when I'll go back, this is what I did to my junior college days, right, or university days.
Okay.
I used to work on assignments during the free time in between lectures. So when I'm home, I'm spending time however I would like to spend time with, either with friends or doing something that I love. So
amazing.
Yes, I could have spent time with friends at university, for example, but I try to find a way of how I can do the work.
I think we all need a leaf out of your time management book.
I'm not sure. I do. I might need to write a book about them, because that's it. Honestly, it's the question that I get to ask the most.
Okay.
So we did a flip script.
Yeah, absolutely. No, super interesting.
Kelly, we're at the end of our episode, and I'm going to summon our beloved fishbone.
The fishbone. Okay, can I?
Sure.
Let's see. I'm known for being lucky.
Oh, okay.
So let's see. How do you embrace change and adapt to new circumstances?
Lucky enough?
I mean, yeah, I actually do embrace change. I think that I'm actually a person, I believe, that likes to see the glass half full.
Okay.
But I almost feel like I seek change more than embrace it, because again, like it's an example which keeps coming up, because it's what I'm just living through right now. But with the house move, it's like seek something new in your life. So I think what ends up driving that is my zest for life, which is, I guess, how we started this this talk, right? So, but how do I adapt? Probably the thing that I definitely catch myself doing when I'm going through these new changes is really ask myself in that moment, what can I really, how do I really want to show up in this specific moment, right? Because it goes back to the talk of limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
You can tell yourself, moving into a new city, I have no friends, no one will like me, everyone speaks different, no one understands my culture. Or I can reframe that inner dialogue to, I'm so curious, because nobody knows what my language is like, but I'm so curious about what kind of similarities can we find, and if the way they eat is similar to how I eat, and so reframe that with curiosity instead of victimization.
Okay.
Is probably how I tend to adapt to circumstances. And I think what's really influenced that is obviously being exposed to different cultures, being different environments where my culture is definitely not the one that's predominating. So yeah, that's, I think, my 2 cents on that.
Mm-hmm. I love the way you frame not being too hard on ourselves, because sometimes when we're seeking to do something right in accordance to what we believe right here is, sometimes we are too hard on ourselves as well. And
it's been a lesson, I must say. It's been constant journey of catching myself, how I spoke to myself. It wasn't something innate for sure, but just one day you wake up and be like, oh my god, am I talking to myself like this really? So yeah, that's cool.
Kelly, thank you.
Thank you. It was lovely.
100%. You asked very different question. I think this episode is very different.
Great. I love being different.
I think you managed to do that. So thank
Fantastic.
you for the lovely personality, for the lovely laugh as well. And I think you've made this episode very, very, very special. So
thank
you
you so
for being
much.
here.
My pleasure, really.